Stimata ambassadora d'un rechef graziai rappresentants del Corps Diplomatic del Conseil National, graziai Supervivenz der Holocaust, geschätzte Damen und Herren. Am heutigen Tag halten wir einen Moment inne und blicken zurück auf eine der dunkelsten Stunden der Menschheitsgeschichte. Gemeinsam erinnern wir uns an die Schrecken der Shoah und gedenken all der Opfer, die im Namen einer grausamen Ideologie ihr Leben lassen mussten. Dieser Moment des gemeinsamen Gedenkens ist für uns als freiheitlich-demokratische Gesellschaft von großer Bedeutung. Indem wir uns gemeinsam erinnern, halten wir die Vergangenheit lebendig, tragen sie weiter, bewahren sie im kollektiven Gedächtnis und werden so unserer Verantwortung gerecht, dass diese dunklen Stunden der Menschheit und die Schicksale ihrer Opfer nicht in Vergessenheit geraten. Geschätzte Damen und Herren, die Erinnerung an den Holocaust ist nicht möglich ohne die Vermittlung von Informationen und Wissen. Vor allem, aber nicht nur an den Schulen. Ich finde es schön und bewegend, dass wir den heutigen Gedenktag am Gymnasium Neufeld begehen, einer Schule, an der sich rund 1000 Schülerinnen und Schüler auf die Matura oder einen anderen Bildungsabschluss vorbereiten. Die Schule bereitet junge Menschen auf das Leben vor. Sie lernen hier verschiedene Fähigkeiten, knüpfen Freundschaften und machen Erlebnisse, die sie ein Leben lang begleiten. Mit großem Engagement fördern Schulen im Unterricht den Erwerb von Geschichtsbewusstsein, von Wissen, von Empathie. Sie fördern die Entwicklung einer demokratischen Grundhaltung und stärken die Urteils- und Handlungsfähigkeit junger Menschen. Hier in Bern, in der ganzen Schweiz und weltweit beteiligen sich Schulen am heutigen Gedenktag, besuchen Erinnerungsstätten und befragen Zeitzeugen. Sie leisten damit einen wichtigen Beitrag, die Erinnerung an den Holocaust für die künftigen Generationen zu bewahren. Wir Politiker und Politikerinnen stehen in der Pflicht, die Rahmenbedingungen zu schaffen und zu bewahren, dass die politische Bildung, die Sensibilisierung gegen Rassismus, Antisemitismus, Diskriminierung und Hass auch in Zukunft ein selbstverständlicher Bestandteil der schulischen Bildung bleibt. Und ich versichere Ihnen allen, gerade in meiner Rolle als Nationalratspräsident, die Geschichte darf sich nicht wiederholen, niemals wieder. Und es sind die Bildungsinstitutionen, die in ihrem Engagement für dieses Ziel auf meine Unterstützung zählen können. Honorable guests, we cannot undo the past, but it's our responsibility to remember the victims of the Shoah and to learn from the terrible events for the future, so that these terrible acts will never happen again. In doing so, we may turn away from the deepest darkness of the past and instead look to the future with hope. Thank you for your attention. Ich danke Ihnen.
Sehr geehrte Holocaust-Überlebende, sehr geehrte Exzellenzen, sehr geehrte Damen und Herren. Die SED, Stiftung Erziehung zur Toleranz, engagiert sich mit einigen Projekten in der frühkindlichen Bildung und für die Toleranzförderung an Schulen. Wir haben mit Unterstützung der Eidgenössischen Fachstelle zur Rassismusbekämpfung in Kooperation mit der Kameralstiftung, mit Frau Anita Winter und mit fachlicher Begleitung der Pädagogischen Hochschule Zürich mit Herrn Professor Dr. Christian Mattis im Oktober 2020 mit einem Einführungsseminar für Nachkommen von Holocaust-Überlebenden gestartet. In Zusammenarbeit mit Geschichtslehrpersonen haben wir dann dieses neue Oral History Projekt Nachkommen erzählen entwickelt und evaluiert. Seither haben Nachkommen als Nacherzählerin in 15 Deutschschweizer Kantone insgesamt 120 Schulklassen an Sekundarschulen, Berufsschulen und an Gymnasien besucht. Ich durfte die Nachkommen als Mentor beraten und begleiten und den Schulen das Angebot vorstellen. Auch hier am Gymnasium Neufeld konnten Nachkommen am 15.09. anlässlich des Menschenrechtstages 3 Schulklassen besuchen und für Ende März 2023 sind weitere Schulbesuche von Nachkommen geplant. Die beiden großen und wichtigen Aufgaben der Menschenrechtserziehung und der Holocaust Education sind bei den Lehrpersonen. Wir unterstützen sie für das biografische Lernen zur Shoah und für die nachhaltige Bildung anhand der persönlichen Gespräche von Jugendlichen mit Nachkommen von Holocaust-Überlebenden. Bei den Nacherzählungen über die Holocaust-Biografien der Vorfahren stehen das Lernen über Menschenrechtsverletzungen und Antisemitismus während der Shoah im Zentrum und beim Gespräch mit Jugendlichen werden die Familiengeschichten der Nachkommen und die Fragen von Jugendlichen über das jüdische Leben heute in der Schweiz besprochen. Wie so ein Schulbesuch abläuft, darüber berichtet Ihnen jetzt Frau Naomi Wieler.
My name is Naomi Wieler and I am 21 years old. I'm a third-year medical student and live in Zurich. In my free time, I enjoy spending time with my friends, doing sports, reading books, and I visit school classes all over Switzerland to share my grandfather's story. You might wonder why I enjoy spending so much time on trains, visiting school classes all over Switzerland. Well, here's why. I don't recall a time of not knowing what happened to my grandfather and his family during the Holocaust. My Opa's story has always been and will always be my story too. Otto Schmelzel was born on the 18th of June 1937 in a small village in Hungary. They had a pretty normal life until the Second World War started. His father had to work as a forced laborer in the Hungarian army, while his wife, my grandfather, and his older brother Shomi stayed in their village. In 1944, when the Nazis invaded Hungary, all of the Hungarian Jews had to move to a ghetto. My grandfather went to the ghetto in Subotica in the south of Hungary. Then, in May 1944, all of the Jews had to meet at the train station to get deported. On the platform, my great-grandmother had to make a big decision. On one side, she had her friends asking her to join them in their cattle car so that they could support each other all without their husbands still in the army. On the other side, she had the Schmelzer family, her husband's family, asking them whether she wanted to join them so that they could give each other moral support. She chose to go with her family. That decision saved their life, because this train was headed straight to Auschwitz, where the people were sent straight to the gas chambers right away, including my great-grandmother and their children. The cattle car my grandfather and his family was in got diverted to a labor camp in Strasshof in Austria. There, they stayed till April 1945, when my Opa, his brother and mother, got liberated by the Red Army on the last day of Passover, the Jewish festival of liberation of the slavery in Egypt. Every year on Pesach, my grandfather celebrates his own personal liberation with all of us. The Schmelzers then returned to Hungary, where they miraculously reconnected with their father. After graduating from the only remaining Jewish high school in all of Eastern Europe, my grandfather wanted to study medicine, which he wasn't allowed to in Hungary. In 1956, him and his older brother Shomi fled to Switzerland, where my grandfather was finally able to study medicine to later on become a pediatrician. He now lives in Zurich happily with his wife, has 3 children and 12 grandchildren, me being the oldest one. This is my grandfather's story, and this is the reason I am able to stand here today. The craziest part of that story, to me, has always been the fact that my great-grandfather made a seemingly small decision of going with her family that later on turned out to be a life-changing decision. I was never able to properly realize the implication of that decision, and how it connects to me. In January of 2020, I was able to go to Poland with a group of young Jews from all over the world. One morning, we had a reflection session, and a girl from the US asked me if I had a crazy Holocaust story of my grandparents. This might sound like a weird question to ask, but out of my Jewish friends, almost all of them have grandparents that somehow have a crazy Holocaust story of how they survived. When I mentioned the fact that my grandfather's cattle car got diverted to Strasshof, a girl from LA, Liana, raised her head and said that the exact same thing happened to her grandfather. We were in shock, but compared our stories and realized that our grandfathers had a common station in their survival story, and now both their granddaughters stood in Poland as proud Jews. That interaction all of a sudden made me realize one more time how personally I am affected by the Holocaust, and that it really also is my story that has to be remembered and shared. There are more than 6 million people whose stories will never be shared by their grandchildren. 6 million names that don't have someone honoring them. 6 million people that had to die without being able to leave a legacy behind. But I am a legacy of the Jewish people. I can proudly stand here. I can proudly wear my bracelet with the Magen David on it because I want to. Not like my grandfather, who was forced to wear the yellow star. It is not only an honor, but also a responsibility. Unfortunately, anti-Semitism is on the rise again, and people seem to be forgetting how far anti-Semitism and unnecessary hatred can go. The more years pass, the more the Holocaust seems to merely become part of history, just like the ancient Romans. With me going to classes, I show them that I have a grandfather who lived in the Holocaust, showing them that actual people stand behind the numbers we so often hear. I always show them a short clip of my grandfather sharing a small story. The silence that follows the classroom afterwards always gives me goosebumps. It is a constant reminder to me that what happened to my grandfather and what he had to go through is neither normal nor okay. And it shows me that some students only then realize how real the suffering of the Jewish people during the Holocaust was. I always offer them to answer every question they have on the Holocaust, anti-Semitism, and my relationship to the Holocaust and Judaism. New questions come up with every visit. In my visit so far, I was able to create a room that allows vulnerability and a safe space to ask any questions. I respond honestly to all of the questions because I think the more people know and experience, the more prejudice can be removed. I show them what being a descendant and a Jew in nowadays society means. More and more survivors pass away, and to ensure that further generations can still get a first or second and third-hand story of the Holocaust is essential in ensuring that the stories keep on being told. With my visits, I hope to give students a feeling of how far hatred can go and how far it can bring humanity, and to encourage them to think twice before they say something anti-Semitic. Something like the Holocaust can never happen again. Hate can never win if we stand up for what's right. Thank you very much.